طيب الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So the voice is clear now, ya ikhwan? Okay, that's good. Alhamdulillah. So we'll be talking today, inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, about some the basic prohibitions in Islamic finance or in business transactions. And I'll tell you why we choose to talk about prohibitions and not talk about what we can do or what we have as permissible, transactions in the market, or what is available, what is halal that is available for us in the market. I'll tell you the reason. But before that, I should mention that our deen is a complete way of life. This is how we should look at our deen. And it is composed of two parts. We have al-Aqidah and we have al-Sharia. And the main, the main tenets of faith, they are the 6 pillars of faith. Al-Imam billah, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His prophets and messengers, in the day of judgment, in the angels, in al-Qadr, khayrihi wa sharrih. And also, there are 6 pillars of faith that we have to believe in them. Now, on the other side, we have a Sharia. And the Sharia is composed of 2 parts. We have al-Ibadat, acts of worship, and we have al-Mu'amalat. Al-Mu'amalat is anything that dealings and interactions between people. That includes the fiqh of marriage, that includes, family law, that includes business transactions and some other things. And al-Ibadat, when we talk about al-Ibadat, it's a different department. We receive al-Ibadat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the Quran and the Sunnah, and we are not supposed to come up with any innovation when it comes to al-Ibadat. We just follow sami'na wa ata'na. But we have more freedom in the area of al-Mu'amalat. We are allowed to be creative and come up with new business transactions, with new modes of financing. Alhamdulillah, there is flexibility. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our needs, that we are humans and we might live in different environments, in different societies, and we might face different challenges and different problems. And money might change. If you study the history of money, at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in Medina, they used to deal with Roman dinars and Persian dirhams. And after a while, during the Umayyad Caliphate, the Khulafa there, they minted the Islamic dinar. And then after a while, people kept on dealing with gold and silver for a while, for a long period of time. And then they came up with a new innovation, which is paper money, or call it fiat money. So anyway, there is a flexibility when it comes to al-Mu'amalat. And that's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about Riba in Surah Al-Baqarah, قال وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. So Riba is one of the basic prohibitions that we will talk briefly about it today, but I'm sure that we're going to discuss many issues when it comes to dealing with your questions. I know that you have many things in mind. But one of the basic prohibitions is riba that is mentioned in the Quran, in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, He said, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has permitted trade and He has forbidden riba, or all forms of usury and interest. Interest, basically it is haram. There are some forms of interest here in this society. They call them interest. They are not interest. So we'll talk about the definition of interest, or what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala meant when He talked about riba in the Quran, in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because there is another form of riba that was not mentioned in the Quran. It was mentioned in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When we choose to talk about basic prohibitions, because العلماء يقولون الأصل في المعاملات الإباحة. الأصل في المعاملات, any mu'amala, any transaction, by default it should be halal unless stipulated otherwise in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the sunnah of His messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a general principle that bay' is halal, trading is permitted. But we know that there are some different sales that are haram. So they are the exception. These are exceptions. So we have a major principle, a basic principle, that every transaction should be halal. When it comes to, for example, I'm not talking about riba here. I'm talking about al-buyu'. Riba is a different thing here. We'll talk about it. But talking about al-buyu', sales or business transactions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them halal, and then the Sharia, the Sunnah, mentioned some exceptions. مثلا, selling or buying after the adhan of al-Jumu'ah is haram. This sale is halal in itself, but the timing is not halal. Because after the adhan of al-Jumu'ah, you should be in the masjid praying with the Muslims. مثلا, selling grapes to someone, you are confident that he will use them to make wine. So selling grapes is halal, right? Grapes in itself, العنب halal, فاكهة من الفواكه التي خلق الله عز وجل. But you know the person has a factory and he's making wine, then it becomes haram at that time for you to sell to him. If you have doubt, then you can still sell to him. Doubt here does not work, because Sharia made it halal for you to sell grapes. But you're not sure if this person will be making wine with it or not. But if you are sure, you are confident that this man is buying these grapes to make wine, then because this transaction, which was halal by default, becomes haram at that time, because you are dealing with a person who is using it in the wrong way. So that's why we talk about, basic prohibitions, because everything should be halal in mu'amalat, with some exceptions that are mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But I'm sure that many of you have in mind something else. I'm sure that you have in mind, or you feel different in a different way. You feel that everything is difficult. Everything around us is haram. And you might think that Islam is a difficult religion. Do you believe in that? Or maybe Islam, Islam is not difficult, is yusr, right? Is a beautiful religion. But maybe the mashayikh, the shuyukh are rigid. The imams, are not flexible enough to make things halal for us. You might look at it this way. I'll tell you the reason why we find it difficult. Can you tell me the reason? Can one of you tell me the reason? Raise his hand and tell me the reason why we find it sometimes difficult to find a halal income in this country, in this environment, and sometimes even in Muslim countries. Why? Yes, yeah. We don't understand what is halal and what is haram. This is part of it, part of the answer. But making fatawas all the time. Well, part of the problem is this. But the main problem, the main issue is what? So this is the answer, ya ikhwan. This is the main problem. We live in an environment that is not friendly to our values. And even if you tell me, okay, should I go to Pakistan or go back to India or go back to Algeria or Morocco, and then I will enjoy practicing Islam there, the answer is the same. These Muslim countries they don't have a well-established Islamic financial system. And the reason is, it goes back to our history. In the modern times, most of the Muslim countries were occupied. To make it brief, our ancestors, the early Muslims, were able to establish a very strong Islamic financial system. And they were doing business in a halal way for a long period of time. I'll tell you about something. One guy, his name is Louis Bernard. He was one of the advisors of George W. Bush. He doesn't like Muslims, to be honest with you. But he studied Arabic and he studied Islamic history. He's a professor. And he knows the Islamic history very well. And he's not someone who would say something in favor of Muslims or the Muslim civilization. I was listening to one of his lectures, and it was called, this lecture, I think he delivered this lecture in Toronto a long time ago, maybe 15 years ago, and it was called The Revolt of Islam. In this lecture, he said something very interesting. He was trying to explain to the audience why Muslims are upset now, and they are revolting, and they are trying to, to change their conditions, and some of them are choosing violence with the intention of, achieving change in the society, within Muslim societies. So he said, he was talking about Muslims, or the history of Islam and Muslims, and he said Muslims developed a very strong civilization in the medieval ages, to the extent that a check would be issued in Basra, he said, in the medieval ages in Basra, and it will be cashed in Morocco. Of course, they didn't have these checks that we use today. It was very simple. They were very simple, documents or financial documents that were used at that time. But the point is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this system for us. He revealed this guidance for us. And He knows what is good for us. And He knows that we can, as humans, develop a financial system based on the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah. But we don't have it now. All what you hear about Islamic banks and Islamic institutions trying to offer some services to the communities, they are trying. We don't have a well-established system. When you don't have a well-established system, the alternatives will not be very attractive. When we talk about riba, okay, I had a discussion with one of the brothers a few weeks ago, a convert. He doesn't know Islam, he wanted to learn, but he was upset with the concept of having many or finding many things that are haram within our society here, including buying houses through conventional mortgage. And he was asking the question, what is the alternative? If all these things are haram, what is the alternative? Here you have to explain to him that, yes, we find it difficult and we have many things, we find that many things are haram because we live in a different environment. And our Islamic system is not well established because we don't have a Muslim state. Islam, you have to take it as a whole package. So you cannot have an Islamic bank that works within a financial or a financial system that is based on interest and riba, and you expect this bank to operate in the best way. Because there is regulatory environment, regulators are interfering with the business of this bank, the government, they have their rules, there is a pressure of the market, the commercial competition from other banks, so it's very difficult. I want you to understand, I don't want anyone to feel that Islam is a difficult religion or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to make things difficult for us. So now here our duty as Muslims living in this environment is you try your best to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there are ulama, highly qualified ulama who lived in North America and European countries. Alhamdulillah, they try to solve some problems. We'll talk about some issues that were made easy for us when it comes to business transactions. The second basic prohibition in Sharia is gharar, and it could be translated as jahala in Arabic, or in English, uncertainty. When you are not certain about the outcomes of the transaction. You're talking about risk? Yes, there is risk in every business. There is risk in every commercial operation. But the Sharia says you are not allowed to get involved into, a business transaction that involves a contractual risk. A risk that is the outcome of your contract or your arrangement because there are different types of risk that you don't have control. You don't have control. مثلا you're buying commodities or merchandise from China and something happens in the middle of the way. It's out of your control. And Sharia does not ask you to avoid this risk, this kind of risk. You cannot avoid it. I mean, it could be a natural disaster. It could be sometimes, as I said, a reality based on commercial competition in the market. You bring some commodities or some merchandise from China hoping that you can sell your product with a certain price. And you find out later that there are some other business people, some other companies who brought the same product and they are selling it for a cheaper price, and you end up losing money. So this is something that you are not supposed to look into it or try to avoid it, because, I mean, you try your best to avoid it, of course, as a businessman. But as a Muslim in Sharia, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not take you to account for not avoiding this kind of problems. But if there is uncertainty, you're going into a transaction and you don't know the outcome, you might lose your whole money, like binary options, for example, or you might make a profit, or buying options from the stock market. You might lose the fees that you pay, or you make a profit. A zero, sum measure. What you lose, it will be the profit of the other party. What you make as a profit, it will be the loss of the other party. It's a win-lose situation here. So Sharia, doesn't advise you to go into this. We'll talk about it when it comes to gharar here. Because there is something very important to understand. We need to understand the hikmah. Try to understand the hikmah of a shari' of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to these kind of business transactions. Islam wants everyone to be happy. When there is a transaction and two parties are involved, He wants everyone, both parties, to be happy and to be satisfied with this transaction. This is a main objective of Sharia في المعاملات. رضا الطرفين. رضا الطرفين. Everyone is satisfied. I have $5,000 and I'm looking for a car. I found a car with my brother here, and he's willing to sell it. So I am willing to give up this $5,000 and give him this amount of money, because I looked at his car and I checked it and I took it to the mechanic and I see more value in this car because I need it. I need to use this car. So I'm happy while giving him the $5,000 and receiving the car at the same time. So I'm satisfied. It's a good deal for me. He himself, he doesn't need this car and he needs money. So he sees more value in the $5,000 that I'll be giving to him. He takes this $5,000 and he gives me the car while he's satisfied and happy. It's a good price for him. So I am happy, he's happy. This is what Islam wants. Both parties of the transaction are satisfied and they are happy with the transaction. Now, if they are not, and it depends on the level of happiness, the level of gharar, of uncertainty, there are different cases but this is a basic principle here. I'm talking about a basic principle. حكمة الشارع في المعاملات. One, هذه من أعظم الحكم هي رضا الطرفين. So, as I said, one of the basic prohibitions of Sharia in business transactions is riba, al-gharar, uncertainty. Number 3, oppression, dhulm. Dhulm, one of the forms of dhulm is to make a partnership, مثلا شراكة, مثلا these so-called Islamic housing companies, they tell you, we buy a house with you and we are partners. But you bear all liabilities, you pay the insurance, you pay the property tax, you pay for the maintenance, and they take the profit. And this is not fair. الشريكان يتحملان الغرم ويشتركان في الربح. Two partners. If you have a partnership, if you have a contract of partnership, then you should be liable for any expenses, or you should bear the risk together, and you are allowed to share the profits. But this is one form of oppression that is found in the market these days. The other thing is number 4, it could be, as I said, the subject of sale is not halal, like pork, like wine, like anything that was made haram, or the time of sale, like مثلا al-Jumu'ah, or مثلا the other person, you're dealing with him, as I said, you know that he will be using, you are sure he'll be using it in a wrong way, then you are not allowed to use it, to sell it to him. When it comes to riba, ya ikhwan, there are 2 types of riba. ربا arising from debt, هذا يسمى ربا الديون، وهذا الربا هو الذي ذكر في القرآن. This is the riba that was mentioned in the Quran, and it is the worst types of riba. Any riba that is mentioned in the Quran is riba الديون, arising from debts or credit sales. When there is a credit sale, there is a deferred payment. So it is a debt obligation. So if the person is late or facing some difficulties, you tell him, okay, that's fine, you pay me after 1 month, but I will increase the debt. Then this is a clear riba, and it is a major sin. And this is the riba, the type of riba that was mentioned in the Quran. And the banking system is actually based on this concept. You know, it's deal with riba. Al-banku tajiru riba, kama yaqulun. The second type of riba is riba arising from sale transactions, riba al-buyu'. And this riba was not mentioned in the Quran, but it was mentioned in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he mentioned 6 commodities. 4 of them are basic, 4 types of basic food. They are basic food, yani 4 types of basic food. He mentioned them, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in this hadith. And the other things, they are gold and silver. Usually he meant money. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he meant money, gold and silver. But the ulama included any types that include any type of transaction that include gold and silver should be subject to these rules that we will mention today when it comes to this hadith. Another classification of riba, it's called riba al-nasi'a, which is riba of delay, or riba al-fadl, riba of increase. So if someone, for example, is exchanging 1,000 American dollars for 1,200 Canadian dollars. But if the ulama, the Sharia here, or the Quran, or actually not the Quran, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are many ahadith, many authentic hadith. This is something that is well established, and there is no disagreement about it, that this transaction has to be on the spot. Immediate delivery. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to mention hand to hand, yadan biyad. When he talked about this hadith, when he mentioned these rules, he said yadan biyad. Now, if someone hears this term, yadan biyad, hand to hand, he might think, someone living at this time in the 21st century, that Muslims will never be able to establish a well-developed financial system. Because all their transaction, when it comes to money, not the other commodities. I'm not talking about other commodities, because Rasulullah ﷺ mentioned only 4 types of basic foods. We'll talk about them, but there are many things that are not included in this hadith, or they are not subject to these rules. Because there are some people, when they hear this term, yadan biyad, they think that, this is very difficult. All our transaction has to be hand to hand. This is not al-maqsood. Al-maqsood, what is meant by hand to hand, is immediate delivery. That means if you sell money, exchange money with someone, and your money, the counter value, is deposited in your account, and you have immediate access to your account, then this is an immediate delivery. This is an immediate possession, and it's called al-qabd al-hukmi. موجود قبض حقيقي في الشريعة وموجود قبض حكمي. حقيقي يعني يدا بيد. Hukmi, constructive possession, is when it is given to your agent, or it is deposited in your bank account, or you receive as a counter value مثلا certified check or a money order. So all these types of possessions are valid possessions, forms of possession in Islam. I don't want you to just focus on those terms that are used in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking to a community which, he was dealing with people who lived in an environment, and their environment, their business transactions, they were very simple. So they didn't have banks, they didn't have these electronic transactions, so he was speaking their language. Our job is to understand the hikmah. So the hikmah here, the ulama, they said the purpose of Sharia here is that these transactions, when it comes to exchanging money, not everything, exchanging money or the other 5 types of food, then they have to happen with this condition, which is immediate delivery. There are many people who don't pay attention to this rule, but it is really important, ya ikhwan, when you are exchanging money or exchanging gold with money or exchanging silver with money or exchanging silver with silver or gold with gold, then you have to pay attention to this rule. Now that's riba al-nasi'a, or the riba of delay. Riba al-fadl, if someone exchanging 100 Canadian dollars, for example, and he wants some change, and the other person will give him 90. He will tell him, I'm not willing to give you 100. I'll change your money, but I'll give you only 90. So there is a difference of $10, and this is riba al-fadl. This is a form of riba. But if he tells him, I don't have $10, I have only 90. Are you willing to give up this? That's okay, if he doesn't make it a condition. If it becomes a condition, it is a form of riba. He said, no, I'll take your $100, but I'll give you only 90. I'm talking about the same money. The same money belongs to the same denomination, that here it has to be the same value, at par value. It has to be exchanged at par value. If it is increased or decreased, then this is riba al-fadl. That is, I want you to be familiar a little bit with these Sharia terms when it comes to riba. As I said, the worst type of riba is the riba that was mentioned in the Quran, in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, riba arising from debts or loans or credit sales. And here the ulama, they said it is an increase, a predetermined. Predetermined is very important here. Predetermined or stipulated as a condition here. Increase in the repayment of loans or debts. Very simple, right? Whether it is a debt arising from a credit sale or it is a loan, you gave a loan to someone, if there is a predetermined increase, stipulated as a condition, I give you $1,000 as a loan, but you pay me back $1,100. It should be basic knowledge, but this is haram. This is a major sin. وهذا الربا هذا هو الربا الذي أشار إليه القرآن. هذا ربا الديون. And this is a basic definition. And al-hikmah, what is the hikmah, ya ikhwan? The main objective of Sharia here, when it comes to making this ruling regarding riba, is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah. If you want to know about the gravity or the seriousness of this sin, you go to Surah Al-Baqarah, the ayat from 275 to 281, one page. And the ulama said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned 5 major punishments in this ayah, in this page, for a riba, the sin of riba, regarding the sin of riba, or for those who get involved, against those who get involved in riba-based transactions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned 5 punishments in this page in Surah Al-Baqarah from ayah 275. الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس. Those who consume riba, they are like someone who was driven to madness by the touch of shaitan. This is the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in the beginning of this ayat. But the hikmah, He said, وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ لَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ. يعني إن تبتم من الربا, if you repent, if you make repentance, then فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ, you take your capital. You don't charge your brother this increase. فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. This is what you deserve. The capital of your loan or the capital of your debt. You don't have the right to increase this debt or increase this loan. وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. Then your capital is yours to keep. لا تظلمون ولا تظلمون. يعني you should neither inflict oppression or receive it. You don't make injustice and you don't receive injustice. This is the main objective of Sharia when it comes to the rules of riba, even though it becomes sometimes difficult for many scholars even to understand sometimes some types of riba. Like riba al-buyu', when it comes to these types of basic food that Rasulullah mentioned, even though we're not concerned with them, because this type of exchanging food existed in a barter economy at the time of Rasulullah, or even before the advent of Islam, their economy was a barter economy. They used to exchange commodities. Nowadays, most of the people deal with money. If you want to buy something, food or clothes or any service, you use your money. So we're not really concerned with the first part that was mentioned in the hadith of Rasulullah, but we are really concerned with the second part when he mentioned gold and silver, because he meant money here, and we have to know about مثلا currency trading, online currency trading, Forex, exchanging money, and we have to be concerned with these rules, and we need to know them. When it is not, this increase is not predetermined. When it is a gift, then it becomes halal. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن خيار الناس أحسنهم قضاءً. إن خيار الناس أحسنهم قضاءً. He said the best among you are those who are generous when paying back their debts. مثلا someone gave you 1,000 as a loan. And then at time of repaying him, you give him a gift with his loan. You pay him, you give him his money, and then you give him a gift. There are some people who believe this is haram. كل قرض جر ربا فهو haram. Any loan that generates جر منفعة. كل قرض جر منفعة فهو ربا. This is a famous principle in Sharia. But this is not true all the times. كل قرض يعني any loan that generates a benefit, then it should be a form of riba. This principle is well established in our Sharia, but it is not true all the times. So if you have a friend that is giving you a gift, you didn't ask for it, then it's halal for you to take it at that time. It's halal. If you don't want to take it, it's okay. But if you take it, it's halal and it's not haram. لأنه هذا من حسن الأداء ومن حسن القضاء. طيب, when it comes to, as I said, the basic types, the 6 commodities that Rasulullah mentioned in the famous ahadith, these ahadith are found in all the books of Sunnah. Bukhari and Muslim, Sunan Abi Dawud, Sunan Nasa'i, and all of them came in similar form. Gold, الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة والبر بالبر والشعير بالشعير. So he said gold for gold and silver for silver, wheat for wheat and barley for barley, dates for dates and salt for salt. The ulama who try to understand this ahadith, they said Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or maybe the Sharia, the objective of Sharia here is to highly regulate the market of basic foods. These are basic foods. So he doesn't want, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want people to play with this market. Because if they play with it, what will happen is the prices might go up, and then who will be affected? The general public. And then the second type of commodities that we mentioned here is gold and silver. So they said Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to, or the Sharia wanted to highly regulate the money, the exchange of money. Because if the prices keep on going up and down, people will be affected. For example, I'll give you an example. مثلا, the prices always go up and down. But if they go up a little bit or go down a little bit, you will not be affected. If you have 1,000 Canadian dollar, you're planning to go to the state to buy something. But if suddenly there was a crisis, and you used to get like مثلا $950 for this 1,000. But suddenly there was a crisis, and 1,000 Canadian is not enough to buy you. You needed 950. Then you have to, within like 24 hours, there was a problem in the market. and the price of the American dollar went up. So instead of paying 1,000, you need to travel. You're seeking medical help, or you are a student, or you are someone who needs to do something, business there. And the prices went up, and then you end up here, instead of paying 1,000 Canadian dollar, you have to pay 1,200 or 1,300 or 1,400. So you are losing actually during that 24 hours because of this, sudden change in the market. You're losing 300 or 400 from your pocket. Look how serious it is, if this market was left, unregulated. Even non-Muslims, they have regulations, and otherwise it will be difficult to do business. But now, we as Muslims, we have to regulate our markets, but at the same time, we have to pay attention to the divine guidance and respect the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have two duties when we do business in any market. It has to be regulated. It has to be organized. People have to, there should be some good management. That's why when we talk about Islamic housing companies, I always tell people about two things. Most of the people would ask about Sharia compliance. I always tell them Sharia compliance is not enough. You have to ask about their management. If there is mismanagement in that company, even if they're Sharia compliant, I don't advise you to buy from them. Because one day you will be disappointed, you will be upset because of their mismanagement. So you need to make sure that their product is Sharia compliant and they have a good management. At what time is Maghrib, Sheikh? 8:15? الأذان على أي ساعة؟ إلا ربع. طيب. You want me to stop على الأذان؟ إلا ربع؟ نأذن قبل الصلاة. طيب جيد ممتاز. I just want to know So when we talk about our Islamic companies, we need actually, as I said, we need to pay attention to the divine guidance, Hidayat al-Quran wa Sunnah, the Sharia rulings, and at the same time we need to pay attention to good management. Now, when talking about money, for example, as I said, we are not concerned with the types of food that Rasulullah ﷺ mentioned them, but he said, if you are exchanging these types of food, then it has to be with the same measurement, and it has to be on the spot. But we are not concerned with this part of the hadith. We are concerned with money. When it comes to money, ya ikhwan, we need to understand the nature of money. If we understand the nature of money in Islam, this will help us to understand many modern transactions that are happening nowadays, including dealing with cryptocurrencies. Everyone is talking about Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies these days. It's a money that is decentralized. It is made electronically in computers. They are using blockchain technology. So are we allowed to use this money? You know how much is Bitcoin today? The price today. 1 Bitcoin is equivalent to, you know how much? 5,866 today. This is crazy. And I'm really worried about this market because many Muslims are involved in this market. They are buying Bitcoins. And until now, we don't have ulama who we don't have a good fatwa. We're still waiting for al-majami' al-fiqhiyya to make a fatwa about this new product in the market, a new money, new form of money. But if we understand the nature of money in Islam, at least we maybe will get an idea. So there is some flexibility when you study the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came as a prophet and a messenger and found that people were dealing with Roman dinars and Persian dirhams. First of all, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say that this is Sunnah money. He did not say it. Even there are some Muslims who are claiming that this is Sunnah money. We have to go to the gold standard. we have to go back to the gold standard. And I'll tell you the reason, the hikmah. Islam is a universal religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Messenger of Allah, knew that, this deen will be for everyone. Will be for Arabs and non-Arabs. وَالنَّاسَ سَيَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. And he knows that people will be different. He knew that people will be different, will be dealing with different types of money. So as I told you, they were dealing with gold and silver for a long period of time. And as I said, during the Khilafah al-Umayyah, the Umayyad Caliphate, Al-Khalifa Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan, it has a story, beautiful story there. He decided to mint the Islamic dinar at that time. Because they used to, at that time, tell the Khilafah, the Caliphate of Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan, they used to deal with Roman dinars. And Egypt at that time was under the rule of the Muslims. But we have the Qubt, the Christians, who were controlling the industry of paper at that time. So they used to, and they were Christians, they had a statement, a religious statement that it's like a logo to place on these rolls of paper, and they used to export them to the Roman Empire, to Europe. And in that statement logo, they had that Jesus is Son of God. So Al-Khalifa at that time, he said, this is something that is happening under my rule. And these people are living in our Muslim land. They have to follow our rule. We don't accept the shirk, right? So he said, you have to remove it. So he forced them to remove this logo. And then they said the Roman emperor was not happy with that. He was very upset because they were Christians at the time. So he printed an insult of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in some products that he used, exported to the Muslim land. The Khalifa was very upset. Then said, we're going to stop dealing with the Roman dinars. And he opened a place in Damascus. The first one was in Damascus. The second one was later on in Cairo. And they started, minting the Islamic dinar. I'm not sure if it has La ilaha illallah, but it has Muhammadun Rasulullah, this Muslim dinar. And, it was a big move. It was a big move. It affected business with other countries, with the Roman, transactions that were taking place at that time between the Muslim state and the Roman Empire. But the Romans had to accept at that time. They said, we're not going to deal with this. Maybe individuals, they continued, on a basic level, they continued dealing with for a while. But at a certain point of time, all Muslims adopted this new currency. But if you go back a little bit to Khilafah al-Rashida, al-Khulafa al-Rashidun, we have another story. Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu, thought about, making a new form of money. And he made mashura with his companions. And he said, I'm planning to make money out of the skin of camels. So we have a Khalifa here, who is Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu, planning to make money out of the skin of camels. So ماذا قيل للخليفة؟ مشورة يتشاور مع أصحابه. قيل له إذن لا إبل. إذن لا إبل. ما معنى إذن لا إبل? It's a very short statement, but it means all the camels will perish. All the camels will perish. And then he changed his mind because he didn't want to destroy these animals. It's a type of wealth. And it was a very precious type of wealth at that time within the Arabian Peninsula until now. Camels, if someone has a good number of camels, he is wealthy in Saudi Arabia and many, many countries in that area. So, Al-Khalifa, the point is the ulama, Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, al-Ghazali, and other scholars, they studied these reports. And they said that money doesn't have to be gold and silver, made of gold or silver. Money can take any form. And that's why in modern times, our scholars in al-Majami' al-Fiqhiyya, when they studied this paper money, fiat money, they concluded that it should be accepted as long as it is a mode of exchange, and it is trusted, and it is a store of value, and it is accepted. It is accepted in the market. People are accepting this. But acceptance is coming from the government. So we ended up having here two types of money. A money that has an intrinsic value, which is gold and silver. The other type of money could be made of gold, could be made of paper, or anything, any material. But it is accepted if the government is accepting this money. So we deal with this money that we have, paper money which we have in our pockets nowadays, because we know that this money is highly regulated and it is protected by the government. And actually most of the fuqaha, when they studied this issue of money, they said only al-hakim, only the governor has the right to mint money and produce money. Otherwise, if people, individuals are allowed to produce money, then it will be chaos, right? It will be a big mess. People will be cheating, people will be making fake money, and then there will be no security in the market. So most of the fuqaha, when they studied this, they said, based on the reports that we have about money, we can conclude easily that only the government. Now, when it comes to, let me say this about cryptocurrencies. When it comes to cryptocurrencies, this money is not guaranteed by the government. It's not guaranteed. Even though now it is very expensive, even though we see some ATMs, Bitcoin ATMs, people are accepting it in some places. Yesterday, I had a shawarma in a Muslim place, and he had a Bitcoin ATM. I asked him, are you accepting payments through Bitcoin? And he said, no, I have this ATM here, but I don't accept Bitcoins as a payment. And he himself, he was not a scholar, but he said one day someone will pay the price for this market when it crashes. When the problem happens, there are people who will pay the price. People are enjoying this new transactions now, buying and selling. But when a problem takes place, then the people who are keeping Bitcoins or a large amounts of Bitcoins in their hands, they'll find out that they have nothing in their hands. Because as I said, it is not guaranteed. It is not protected by the government. Here in the modern financial system, any bank that starts making business, he has to have an insurance scheme. And your money that is deposited in any bank, it has to be protected through this insurance scheme. You don't pay for this insurance, but the bank has to have this insurance. The government forces them to have this insurance. So if there is a crisis, then at least your money is protected. If there is a crisis of another form, the government is obliged, for example, they decide to change the currency, then they oblige, if you bring them a big amount of currency that you have, they are the one who decided to change the currency, then your money is protected. You have the right to ask for the equivalent amount. But this is not the case with the new cryptocurrencies. No one is guaranteeing this money. So basically you have nothing. If a crisis happens, if something happens. Now, this is not a conclusion, but this is how I feel about it. I'm not sure, but this is how I feel about it, that some governments are trying it. They're allowing people to use this new money. If they feel that this new money is working, then it could be adopted by governments in the Western world in the future. But now they don't want to take any responsibility of this money. Even the creator, when we talk about the creator of Bitcoins, they are not sure. They mention a Japanese name, I don't memorize it, but they're not sure if he's a person or a company. They don't know who came up with this idea. It appeared in 2009, and now it's crazy. The other day, I got brothers calling me from UK, and they said they are investing in a new cryptocurrency. It's called OneCoin. The company was established by a lady from Bulgaria. She has 3 degrees of law. She has experience. She's done business in London for a long period of time. She knows what she's doing. Now she created this company, and they are they're going to launch this new cryptocurrency in 2018, but they are now accepting investments. And people are investing in this new cryptocurrency. And I told them, you are taking a big risk, ya ikhwan, here. You're taking a big risk because we are not sure even if dealing with this money is halal. We talk to Majma' Fuqaha al-Sharia in America, AMJA, Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America. We send them some information. We tell them, our shuyukh, you need to make a decision about it. Because I don't want a fatwa from an individual scholar. There is a fatwa about it in Islam Web. We don't know even the name of the mufti. He could be a student of knowledge who has a bachelor degree working with the Ministry of Awqaf, Religious Affairs in Qatar, because this Islam Web belongs to the Ministry of Religious Affairs in Qatar. He could be a student of knowledge who doesn't have the experience of ulama, highly qualified ulama who need to look into this new product carefully and study it and then come up with a fatwa. We need this fatwa from an academy, from Majma', from an organization. And then we feel comfortable if we should deal with it or not. But based on the research that I did, and these transactions or this money should not be traded. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. When it comes to currency trading in Forex markets, ya ikhwan, online currency trading, there are many brothers who are involved in this business. And this business is involving a contract between you and a broker. And it's called margin. You have to open a margin account with him. Because you cannot, as an individual, you cannot make money unless you are investing big amount of money, 200,000, 300,000 Canadian, for example. And if you have 1,000 Canadian dollar, you can still trade in this market because you receive a loan from your broker. So if you open an account with him, this is how it is done online. You open an account online with him, I'm talking about Forex here. And then he will give you a facility, a loan facility, 99,000 for example. Your $1,000 is there, he will give you this 99,000. You don't carry it in your hand, you don't see this money. But it is a facility that is given to you. So numbers, you're dealing with numbers. He will tell you you are allowed to trade this lot, which is, every lot is 100, the value of every lot is 100,000. So you register through his platform, and you have to do business through his platform. So there is a custody service here that you pay him. He is rewarded for this custody service. And then you're doing business through him. So you're combining between a loan and between a sale. والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في الحديث المشهور يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ويقول الحديث نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن سلف وبيع. It's another form of riba that many people are not aware of. The combination between a sale and a loan in the same transaction, in the same contract. The other problem with this business online, if it is not clear, we'll talk about it when we deal with questions, is that the delivery always takes place within 2 days. So there is no immediate delivery. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when you deal with money, when you exchange money, you have to have immediate delivery, immediate possession. You give him your money and you receive your money. But here in this market, online market, you're dealing with someone you don't know, another broker, another company, another individual. It's online, but there is no immediate delivery. If you make a profit, this profit will be deposited in your account within 2 days, after 2 days. Because they said they have to verify the information of the transaction, and they have some regulations. But Rasulullah ﷺ insisted, he was insisting in all the ahadith that when you exchange money, you have to do it with immediate delivery. So this is a major problem when it comes to these Forex accounts or this currency trading online. And the ulama don't encourage to make money like a commodity, to buy it and sell it in the market, because they said one of the objectives of Sharia when it comes to money is to preserve the stability of money. It has to have a stable value, otherwise people will be affected, usually in a negative way. And that's why they don't, these people who trade money online, there is a huge amount of money that is traded online. And this money is not creating anything, it's not adding any value to the economy. And they themselves are criticizing this kind of business transactions. The non-Muslim economists themselves, they said, these transactions are not adding any value to the economy. But for example, in 2010, in April, I remember, and it was a report from the Bank of International Settlements. In their report in 2010, in April, they said in one day, the turnout, the money that was traded in one day, it was $4 trillion. $4 trillion in this market, Forex markets. And that is the outcome or the output of the whole German economy in 1 year. $4 trillion. That is just, traded between people who are trading online. As I said, they're not creating jobs, they're not building factories, they are not adding any value to the economy. And there are people, researchers who've studied this kind of transactions. They said 95% of people are losing money in these markets. Because you could be dealing, as I said, with someone who has the other side, you don't know him, and he has more information than you. He's a player, he's a market player, he's a broker, he's a company, he's a bank, he has more information. And you are an individual coming with 1,000, 2,000. I have a brother in Calgary who lost 200,000 when after he dealt with binary options. And he called me after losing 200,000. I told him, Ya akhi, why you didn't call before? And you should have called before you got involved in this business. Because this is another pure gharar. It's a form of pure gharar. It's like gambling. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, binary options. Binary options, you go and you bet on the prices of some commodities, and you place $100, for example, and you bet on the price going up, for example. If the price goes up, then your profit will be 70%. You make $70 in your pocket. If the price goes down, you lose the $100. You lose it completely. So it's a lose-win, transaction. And this is a form of pure gharar, the uncertainty that I talked about. Now, I think maybe I'll give you a chance to, I'm sure that you have many questions. I'll stop here and I will clarify more issues, inshallah, when it comes to riba and gharar, because we're limited with time. It's 10 to 8 now, and we need to pray at 8:15, so at least we'll give you some time. Tfadal.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Hacene, for this very important topic. So just to be fair between brothers and sisters, so inshallah we're going to start receiving questions here from brothers until our sisters, if they have any question, any comments, please send it to as a text message to 613-552-5252. I'm giving you the easiest phone number in Ottawa here, alhamdulillah. So 613-552-5252, yes. Or 613-552-5252. Inshallah, I'm going to receive it, and inshallah, I will ask it to Sheikh. Just to be fair, inshallah. And now, go ahead with the...
We cannot invest in what? Well, when it comes to stock market, you want me? I didn't mention anything about stock market. No, that's the problem here. I was talking about options. Option is one product in the market. I'm not talking about shares in general. Basically, trading in the stock market is halal as a basic ruling. The problem here, ya akhi, because we live in a non-Muslim country, most of the companies deal with riba. So I'll tell you about the basic ruling when it comes to dealing with stock market or trading shares in the stock market. The basic ruling is halal. If the company is halal, their product is halal. Then it could be technology, it could be healthcare, it could be anything, making cars, computers, oil and gas. So the product is halal. So you have to avoid alcohol, entertainment, pornography, and all the other things. And the second condition that the ulama made is that the company cannot deal with riba. Now we know that all companies here deposit their money in banks, and all of them have credit lines, and all of them have, an interest income coming to these companies. The problem is when you buy a share, you buy shares of this company, you become like a partner. It's not like someone working in the company. Someone working in the company is halal for him to work if he's doing a halal work. Because he's not responsible, he's not in charge of he's not a decision maker in the company. He's not. He's an engineer, an accountant working in that company, doing a halal job for this company. He's not responsible for their business decisions. So when you buy their shares, you become like a partner. So your responsibility will go to a higher level. That's why they have this, general assemblies, and the shareholders, they have a say, and they get together every year, and they sometimes, they give them chance to talk and criticize, and they have a say. So you become like a partner. Now, as I said, the basic ruling is halal. The problem is here, as I said, we live in a non-Muslim environment, and all the companies deal with riba. So there are a group of scholars who came up with a criteria. And this criteria is not agreed upon. It's called al-tijara fil ashum al-mukhtalata, mixed shares. And they have their own criteria. These scholars are highly qualified scholars, but it's not agreed upon. And the example that we have in Canada is called, we have an index, Sharia index, representing this methodology. And it's called S&P 60 Sharia Index. And this index has many companies, Canadian companies involved in this index. And this methodology is called Sharia screening of shares in the stock market. This Sharia screening methodology is meant to screen those companies. And they have criteria. They tolerate a certain amount of riba, certain amount of haram, activities in these companies. They have their own criteria. Now, if you feel comfortable with this, you can trade these companies. You can buy their shares and trade their shares. But to tell you, if you ask me, is there any company that I can trade their shares while being certain that I'm doing a pure business, halal business? I tell you no. You live in Canada. In the Gulf countries, in Saudi Arabia and Qatar, they tried to put some pressure. There are many organizations, Muslim organizations, a scholar, put some pressure on different companies, and many of them were able to clean their books, and they stayed away from riba. But it's a Muslim, we're talking about Muslim countries. The government is helping them there, the environment is helping them. Some of them were able to clean their activities, and the ulama issued fatwas regarding these companies. In Malaysia and some Gulf countries, maybe Pakistan, they have some Islamic banks and Islamic companies. But here, honestly, I cannot tell you that there is a halal company that you can, purely halal, I'm talking about purely halal. If you want to follow this methodology or learn about it, I have a lecture online. It's called Sharia Screening of Shares in the Stock Market. You can listen to it. Okay. And you get a better idea about this methodology. When it comes to shares, trading shares in the stock market.
Okay, please, no, Muhsin, please. To be fair, and we cannot just open that. If you have any question, raise your hand for brothers, because so far I have at least 10 questions from sisters, so far.
MashaAllah.
I know. And the time is very limited.
Sisters want to do business.
And that's why I was about to ask Sheikh. There's
So
one.
we give chance to one sister and then one brother.
Yeah,
one
of course,
sister, one
of
brother.
course.
Alternate.
And I was about to ask the Sheikh.
Take a question from us.
Yeah, there is a comment here. Please repeat the question from, inshallah. Any question comes from the brothers, we're going to repeat it so sisters will understand what's the question. And kindly ask Sheikh, inshallah, his answer to be very short, as much as you can, Sheikh, because time is very limited. So, first question is I received from sisters here. Assalamu alaikum. The sister asking, is it halal to have a credit card as long as there is never interest because they always pay it on time?
Yeah, I mean, this mas'ala has been discussed by many ulama. The ulama who live in Muslim countries, they said, is not halal. Because it's not halal. They said it's not halal because this contract involved a condition. This condition says that if you are late, you're going to pay late fees, right? They're going to charge you late fees. And this is a pure of riba. This is a form of riba. This is a form of riba, right? There are some ulama who live in North America and Europe. 10 years, 15 years ago, they were saying that if you live in this environment, for example, in the state, in some towns and cities, people cannot carry cash with them. And sometimes if you go to some hotels or you want to rent a car, you cannot use cash. They don't accept cash from you. They don't accept your debit card. So they said it's okay for you to carry one card, to use it at a time of necessity. With this condition, you pay on time. But I have a better option. Bank of Montreal, they have a prepaid travel MasterCard. And it has all the features of a credit card. And of course, it is prepaid, so it's like a debit account. So you have to deposit your money, but it is a credit card. If you take it to the hotel, they will accept it. You can rent a car with it. It has all the features of a credit card, and it's halal. You only pay the fees of $7 every year, and you can use this card, but you have to have money. Now, if you don't have money, you don't have a job, and you said, can I use it at time of necessity? The other one, you can use it at time of necessity, but you have to make sure that you pay on time. But I advise you not to open this door for yourself, because there are some brothers who opened the door, this door for themselves, and they ended up taking loans. You know, when we take cash, it's advanced money, they charge you interest right away. At least when you purchase something with a credit card, they give you this grace period, you wait until 25 days to pay them back. But when you take a loan, using your credit card, they will charge you interest right away. So you have to be careful, ya ikhwan. Riba is a major sin. And it is only halal at a time of necessity. And what is necessity, ya ikhwan? Darura in Sharia. Darura is, if you don't do it, you lose your life. Or you lose part of your body. Or you lose your whole wealth. All your money. This is a darura. Because the needs in Sharia are divided into three types, three basic levels here. We have luxuries, al-kamaliyat. We have hajat, needs, and we have al-darurat. So al-riba, al-ulama, they said it is a major sin. It is only allowed at time of darura. For example, someone who doesn't have a shelter, he's in the street with his family, then here he is allowed to go and buy a house through a riba-based transaction. But if he is able to afford rent, or rent is available, then he has an alternative, another halal alternative, then here he's not allowed to deal with riba. He should understand that Jannah is precious, Al-Jannah ghaliya, and we need to sacrifice, ya ikhwan, for the sake of this Jannah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised. نعم تفضل يا شيخ.
طيب okay, this brother was first. Okay.
تفضل يا شيخ. بالعربي تفضل بالعربي فرنسية ضعيفة أنا عندي. لا بأس تفضل. RSP. في RSP وفي RESP تاع الأولاد. RSP. Mutual funds, eh?
Yeah.
And you said CIBC, the bank is CIBC, right? Yeah. I know what you mean, yeah. Yeah. طيب فهمتك يا شيخ، فهمتك يا حاج. The brother is asking, I will say it in English, there are some brothers from CIBC, this is the bank, right? And they have mutual funds, they have Islamic, they call it Islamic investment, and they said they have RSP accounts that do not involve riba, and they were trying to sell this product to the community. To the best of my knowledge, I looked into this, this offers in CIBC. I don't know if they still exist till now. يعني لا أدري إذا موجودين الآن. راح نجاوب. I will answer him in Arabic because the brother doesn't understand English, and then we'll translate in English. حسب علمي أنه هذا الموجود العقود اللي موجودة في CIBC تتبع نفس الطريقة اللي حكيت فيها مع الأخ، الأسهم المختلطة. الأسهم المختلطة قلت له العلماء انقسموا فيها إلى قسمين، مجموعة من العلماء قالوا حرام ومجموعة من العلماء قالوا قالوا حلال. المشكلة أنه CIBC، أنا تكلمت مع واحد من الإخوة في ألبرتا اللي كان مسؤول على واحدة من العقود، قلت له أنت ذكرت الأسماء تاع العلماء هذو، منهم مثلا دكتور نزيه حماد يعيش في فانكوفر، من كبار العلماء في الاقتصاد الإسلامي، عنده دكتوراه وكان يدرس في جامعة أم القرى، وكان عضو في مجمع الفقه الإسلامي، وعنده كتب كثيرة في الفقه، في فقه المعاملات المالية، ورجل مرجع في هذا المجال. قلت له اسمه أنتم موجود اسمه، هؤلاء موجودين are they monitoring، يتابعوا الفند تبعك هنا؟ قال لي لا، لأنهم أقروا بهذه الطريقة فنحط أسمائهم. قلت له هذا غش للناس، أنتم تغشون الناس. قلت له ما يمكنش تحطهم. أنا حكيت مع الدكتور نفسه، قلت له اسمك موجود في البنك، هل أنت أقريت أعطيتهم موافقة أنه يستعملوا اسمك؟ قال لي لا، قال لي ما أعطيتهمش موافقة. قلت له كيف تسمح باسمك يستعمل في يعني معاملة مالية؟ قال لي احنا ما نتحكم في هذه الاشياء، يعني هم اذا هم يتبعوا هذه اللي يسموه. طبعا الشيخ كبير في السن وكذا ما راح يتابعهم قضائيا ولا كذا اللي يستعمل، بس الاخ هذا خرج من هذا البنك، وما ادري هل المعامله هذه ما زالت موجوده ام لا. مفهوم يا شيخ؟ واضح الجواب؟ طيب. يعني مساله كرايتيريا ذات مختلف فيها بين العلماء، هم متبعينها. المشكلة أنه أضافوا أسماء علماء، هذه الأسماء العلماء مش موجودين، يعني ما عندهم علاقة بالفند اللي موجود في CIBC. منهم عالم من البحرين، ومنهم عالم من ماليزيا، دكتور من ماليزيا ودكتور من البحرين، والثالث موجود عندنا هنا في كندا في فانكوفر. So I will translate.
طيب لا خليني نمشي شوية
Then we take
إن شاء الله, because there is a question from the sister. Actually it was not a...
Let me translate very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, the brother was asking about an Islamic product called Islamic product, mutual fund, that was offered by CIBC. And the brothers who came here, they said this is RSP and it doesn't have riba. I told him, to the best of my knowledge, I looked 2 years ago at this product offered by CIBC, and they were following the same criteria that I told the brother. It is a matter of controversy. The scholars are divided into two groups about this shares that are mixed between what is halal and what is haram. And the same criteria is followed by this Sharia index that exists in Toronto. It is traded in Toronto. It's called S&P 60 Sharia Index. It's something that is controversial. As I said, if the brother, I told him, if you want to understand, have a better understanding of this methodology, you go to, I have a lecture on YouTube. It's called Sharia Screening of Shares in the Stock Market. And I talked about this methodology and the disagreement between two groups of scholars. And then, inshallah, you'll have a better understanding of this criteria. The only problem with CIBC is they use the names of some scholars, but these scholars were not aware. They didn't know that their names are there. Yes, they approved this methodology, but when you say that they are monitoring this product, then they have to have knowledge about it and they have to be involved. That's a problem with, lack of transparency is a problem in this industry. نسأل الله السلامة والعافية. تفضل يا شيخ.
طيب. نعم الأخوات. هو this question actually from our sisters, it's been answered in English, not in Arabic. Her question was ما حكم الحصول على بطاقة ائتمانية مثل فيزا والماستر كارد. الشيخ أجاب already وخلاص الأمر أن نعم وإذا هناك موجود بدائل والأمر ما دام هناك دفع وليس هناك انترست ومتأكد أن تدفعين في الوقت أنه يجوز ذلك إن شاء الله تعالى عند الضرورة. نعم. ولعلي أنا أضيف أن هناك رأي يقول أن الشرط أن العقد صحيح ولأنه عقد دين والشرط باطل والله تعالى أعلم. طيب ما حكم الحصول على القرض تمويل السكن وهو البديل لمن يريد امتلاك المنزل. This by the way this is in Arabic but I have already received this question. Many sisters they have the same question, so we're going to answer it one time. We're going to answer one time in Arabic and in English إن شاء الله تعالى.
إيش هو السؤال؟
شو اسمه المورتج how to get لا عن طريق I have many questions. They ask about the from banks and what's the alternative. What's the good alternative?
Buying houses through conventional mortgages. يا إخوان, this is not halal. This is a basic answer. If you want to know the details, I have 5 lectures. They are online. It's a book that was written by Sheikh Salah Sawi, and it was translated in English. And I explained it in 5 lectures. It is available on YouTube. He wrote this book as a refutation, a very polite refutation to the fatwa that was made in Chicago in 1999. It was made before that in Europe by المجلس الأوروبي للإفتاء in the same year, November or December 1999. After 2 weeks, they made this fatwa again here in Chicago. The only qualified scholar that was involved and he approved it at that time in Chicago here was Yusuf al-Qaradawi, Dr. Yusuf al-Qaradawi from Qatar. The other people who were involved with him, many of them did not agree. They did not approve this fatwa, ikhwan, just to let you know. One of them, Wahb al-Zuhayli, Dr. Wahb al-Zuhayli, rahmatullahi alayh. He was a great Syrian scholar, faqih. He passed away 2 years or 3 years ago. And he was crying. He was crying and he was saying that, you will be taken to account for this fatwa. Talking to the people who made it halal, because they should have at least mentioned the names in the final decision, the names of the scholars who disagreed with it. So there was a very polite refute for this fatwa written by Sheikh Salah Sawi in a book, وقفات هادئة مع فتوى إباحة القروض الربوية لشراء البيوت في البلاد الغربية. It was translated in English. It is found in English. It is PDF document. You can download it and you can read it by yourself. But I explained it in 5 lectures, ya ikhwan, and I told you why it is haram, because we have the halal alternative, which is rental. Riba is a major sin. It can only be violated at times of darura. When you can find a halal alternative, you cannot go for something haram. As I said, I always, when I talk to people, I tell them life is short. Life is short. What is our purpose as Muslims? What is our ultimate purpose? What is our ultimate purpose? Is to gain, earn the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and go to Jannah. This life is a short passage. Death can come at any time. And if you think that by buying a house you are doing a service in a haram way, you're helping your family, establishing a house to your family, you're protecting your family, I would like to remind you, there was a saying that was made by Umar ibn Khattab رضي الله عنه. عمر بن الخطاب يقال أنه قال: اللهم إني أعوذ بك من مال أحاسب عليه في قبري وينتفع به غيري. اللهم إني أعوذ بك. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from a wealth that I will be taken to account about it in my grave, but others will benefit from it. So, الذي رزقك سيرزق أبناءك. The one who made it easy for you to rent or to have a job or to establish a business in a halal way, he's the same one, Razaq, who created your children. You did not create them. You did not create your children, afwan. He created them. And he promised that he will provide for them. He provided for you. And he will provide for them. And there are many people who were poor, but their children became wealthy. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz did not pass away, did not leave anything for his children. And the people, some scholars, they're swearing by Allah, they saw some of his children donating huge amounts of money fi sabilillah. They became wealthy. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he said, I left for them taqwa. If they are muttaqeen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make makhraj for them. If they are people of taqwa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a way out for them. So it's very important for those who are coming to the masajid, you pray and you are seeking a halal way. You're trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At this moment, at this time, we need to have patience and we need to organize our priorities. Our ultimate priority is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahi, I know some people who came to me and they asked me, and I told them years ago, 10 years ago, and I told them, Ya ikhwan, this is the basic ruling. It's haram. Wallahi, some of them, not all of them, I cannot lie to you, some of them, they came back to me after 4 years, 5 years, said, Shaykh, I was able to buy my house in a halal way. Cash. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened His doors of mercy for them. It doesn't happen to everyone. People are tested in different ways. But this is the rahmah and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نعم يا أخو.
طيب بس
The brother raised his hand here.
حناحة الأخ هذا طيب هو الأول.
It's almost time for Isha. So
لحظة بس شيخ إن شاء الله بإذن الله. بس because it's very very common. Is there you personally, do you know any alternative Islamic alternative housing, buying housing like through Islamic companies here in Canada? Since it's very common question, so I want to ask it here. And then we'll take one more.
Again, you are not going to be happy with my answer, but I will say it. The problem with Muslim companies, these companies who are trying to provide, some of them maybe they don't have riba, but they have some form of oppression, dhulm. Which means I was talking about partnership. يقولون نشتري البيت معك مشاركة. Musharaka, partnership. We pay 80%, you pay 20%. Then you are partners, right? Now this is one contract, one transaction. They have to distinguish between this contract so it doesn't become financing and they will make a profit through this financing. It doesn't become loan. They have to distinguish between this contract and the new contract, which is sale. Because in order for you to own this house, you have to keep buying shares from them. So it cannot be automatically included in the first contract. Like they buy it for 200, they invest 200,000, and they tell you, you pay us back based on this amount, which is 200,000, so give us 5,000 every year. But at the same time, there is a third contract that is included, which is rent. You are renting their shares. Now, when you are renting their share, which is 80%, you are the tenant and they are the landlord of 80%. If they are the landlord, they have to assume the responsibilities of a landlord. So they have to at least pay with you, 80%, for example, of the property tax, the insurance. If there is a major maintenance, there is something that was broken and it needs to be fixed, they have to share with you. They don't do it. Most of you don't do it. They said, you are enjoying the house and using it. You pay your property tax, you pay the insurance, and you pay. And this is a form of oppression, dhulm. Now, as I said, if there is no distinction between the partnership contract and between the sale contract, it becomes very close to the riba-based contract. And I am not saying this, out of ignorance, ya ikhwan. I met with the owners of this company, some of them. I'll give you an example. My answer is depressing, but I have to tell you this. A couple of weeks ago, I met the owners of a new company in our area. They came to my office. Uqsim billah ya ikhwan, they themselves, in front of me, within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, they admitted that their contract is haram. Wallahi, they admitted that their contract, because they told me, they gave me a big document. I told them, just explain to me your contract, what you are offering to the people. And there is no difference between it and the conventional mortgage agreement from conventional banks. There's no difference, right? There is some arrangement there that makes it look like it's halal. But it doesn't, because they are a division of a conventional bank. Now they are mediating between conventional bank and between Muslim customers. So I told them, ya jama'a, it's not halal. You know it's halal. How can you offer people something haram and you tell them it's halal? He said, no. One of them said, two partners, if someone asks us the question, we will tell him honestly, this is not halal. And you know what happened? I know it's depressing, wallahi, very depressing. Within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, someone sent me a clip. They went to another imam and they got a fatwa from him. And this imam accepted to make a statement. A senior imam making statement that this contract is a good option for Muslims and they can buy houses. At the end, he said, I'm not saying it's really halal, but it is a good option for us. A good option for Muslims to buy. I mean, you have to be honest with people. When it comes to halal and haram, ya ikhwan, I'll be taken to account for everything I say in front of you here. And I have to be honest, whether I make it difficult for you or I go against the rules of Sharia and make it easy for you. Both ways are wrong. So I have to be honest. And as I said, there are things that, alhamdulillah, when it comes to student loans, there are some, I hope we had time, we'll talk about student loans. Alhamdulillah, the ulama here, they made a fatwa for our student, but it needs to be explained that at the end, if all halal options are not available for them, they are allowed at the end, after they exhaust all the options, the halal options. And they gave us the reason why they made this fatwa, made by a group of scholars, majma'. So it's not an individual, it's not an imam. Highly qualified scholars, all of them were PhD holders, some of them specialized in Islamic finance. When they study it in a conference and they come up with a fatwa, then you feel more comfortable and they give you why. They made it easy for students, for example. Their situation is a little bit different than people who are trying to buy houses or to expand their business.
طيب احنا الان already passed. This brother I have to take him.
If you want to understand, just to add, if you want to understand the problems that are found with these companies, just to get an idea, go to amjaonline.org. It's Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America, amjaonline.org. There is a declaration about many Muslim companies offering this product, housing business, involved in housing business in the state. And they are similar to our companies here in Canada. So you get an idea why these products are not halal. But they said, made some fatwas about some companies. They said, if you are in need, you're facing some difficulty with your family, you have a big family, you might go through some of them. Because these companies are different. Some of them, they have big problems. Some of them, they have some issues. But it could be accepted as the same or ignored at times of need. So if you want to have an idea, it's a long story there. There is a long declaration. You can read it about these different companies there. Again, amjaonline.org. Yes. Brother. It's a moving company, right? Yeah. So al-gharar is different, is something I didn't mention in the brother. He's saying there are brothers who are trying to establish a moving company and they need insurance. If you have a moving company, you need to protect yourself, because if something happens to the furniture or of your clients, then they might go after you and they ask you to pay for the value of this furniture. It could be sometimes expensive. So you need to protect the vehicle. A vehicle, you mean full coverage? Of course, insurance is halal when it comes to driving. It's halal because it is ijbariya. You have to have it. No, الحاجة الماسة قد تنزل منزلة الضرورة. All the ulama agreed that if you are forced to take insurance, you are allowed to take it, whether it is health insurance or home insurance or auto insurance. You cannot drive a car without insurance in this country. So what is الحاجة الماسة? الحاجة الماسة, it will be close to الضرورة. مشقة. مثلا in this country مثلا, the weather is very cold. If we say it's haram to Muslims to own their cars because the insurance is involved. By the way, insurance does not involve riba. It involves gharar. I need to understand the farq between riba and gharar. Gharar is not mentioned in the Quran. It's mentioned in the hadith. Hadith of Sahih Muslim, نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن بيوع الغرر. العلماء قالوا there is zero tolerance for riba in Sharia, but there is some tolerance for gharar in Sharia. They divide gharar into 3 levels: excessive gharar, medium level of gharar, low level of gharar. Low level of gharar is accepted by all scholars. Excessive level of gharar is refused, is rejected by all scholars. Medium level of gharar is debated. But car insurance is an excessive, is a form of excessive gharar. But they said al-gharar, at times of need, you don't need darura for gharar. Al-haja tubihu al-gharar, walaysa al-darura. You see the difference between riba and gharar? Al-haja, need, makes it permissible. So if you have a home, a house, and you are worried if your house is burned, it might burn the houses of your neighbors, and then you will be in trouble if you don't have insurance. So there is a fatwa from for example, Amjad scholars. They said it is halal in this land because most of the houses are made of wood. It is halal to have insurance for your house, and it is halal obviously to have insurance for your car.
But there is no discussion, please. We have to pray. We should have the last thing, Dr. Muhammad, please, if you have any comment, please. We need to pray.
Just one thing, Sheikh, he mentioned earlier about these companies that finance houses. If there is another alternative where the person would finance the house and the name would be, the ownership would be on the tenant, the ownership is on the tenant's name, the financier just put a lien on the house to make sure that he secured his right in the future. Does he have to contribute for this in this bill, property tax and other bills?
I didn't understand your question, Ishaq.
Yani, the person who's financing the house,
okay,
the ownership will go to the tenant under his name.
Yeah, but on what basis is financing the house? On what basis is giving a loan to the tenant?
No, he will buy the house and then he will sell it to this house.
But he bought it with him.
It's not a bank. It's not a bank.
Yeah. He bought it with him, so they are partners.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, even if they don't share the titles, the Sharia doesn't look at this.
Just a second.
Yeah.
The installment that the tenant is paying, it's not a rent. It's not a rent. It's a part of the installment that you agreed on.
Oh, بيع المرابحة, you mean بيع المرابحة? He buys it and then he sells it back to you with a profit, with a margin? This is halal.
So he doesn't have to contribute in the property tax and
No, of course. When you become the sole owner of the house, he sold it to you. The problem with most of these companies, they don't sell the house to you right away. They own it with you. They are partner. They are your partner. So they have to take some responsibility with you, share some responsibility. But if they do it through murabaha, they don't want to do it through murabaha because it's not very profitable. But when I tell them do it through murabaha. Buy the house, convince the bank to give you the money. It's okay if you are working with the bank. You sell it back to the customer, so he becomes the owner. Then he...
Do they have to do 2 contracts or just 1 contract?
I mean, the first one is not contract, is a promise. Is a promise. The first, you cannot make a contract before you own the house. After they own the house, they resell it to you. And you become the owner of the house, and then you have to be responsible of this house.
جزاكم الله خيرا. You know, very controversial issue. جزاكم الله خير. صلى الله عليه وسلم.